Two of the following videos are true while the other one is trash. Can you spot the fake? Season 3, Episode 3, sponsored by FlexiSpot. I recently moved apartments and FlexiSpot sent me some of their cool products to help me settle in, like this premium ergonomic chair. But more about FlexiSpot during the bonus round. Round 1, let's begin. First up, take a plastic water bottle that has some leftover water droplets inside. Then screw on the cap and twist the bottle in half several times to raise the pressure inside the bottle. Now when you go to unscrew the cap will shoot off and a stream of what looks like fog will exit the water bottle. If your friend accidentally puts a permanent marker near your whiteboard and you use it to write on the whiteboard, fear not, because you can just take a dry erase marker and draw over the permanent marker. Now you can erase it like usual and the permanent marker is removed. You might have seen a visual of our solar system like this where all the planets orbit in the same plane. However, in reality, they all orbit in completely different planes, most notably with Mars orbiting in a plane almost perpendicular to Earth. You've seen all 3 videos now, pause to vote in the comments which one you thought was fake. If you thought raising the pressure and then rapidly expanding a plastic water bottle would do something like this, you'd be correct. The sudden drop in pressure and therefore temperature causes water vapor to condense into tiny droplets of visible liquid water. If you actually believed you could draw over permanent marker to remove it from a whiteboard, nice job, because you'd be correct. Because both the Sharpie and the dry erase markers have similar solvents in their ink, the dry erase marker acts to dissolve and therefore overpower the Sharpie's ability to bind to the whiteboard. Side note though, I wouldn't try this on older boards that already have trouble erasing even dry erase ink because it won't work nearly as well. If you thought planets actually orbit in completely different planes, you'd be wrong. All the planets do orbit in roughly the same plane, which is not some crazy coincidence, but rather a result of the way solar systems form. It's too long to get into here, but there's plenty of other videos on this topic if you want to learn more. Here's a quick recap to help you follow before moving on to the next round. Next up, it's time for round 2. First up, place some food dye into a pan of water and stir it. Then take a medium-sized piece of regular printer paper and soak it in the water for about 30 seconds. Next, while the paper is still wet, coat the paper in Febreze and dab it to make it a thin layer. Then lay the paper in sunlight and place something on it that creates a cool pattern. I chose this plant. Let it rest in the sun for about 15 minutes to evaporate the thin layer of Febreze everywhere except under the plant leaves. Lastly, re-soak it in dyed water in the shade. This will remove the dye from where the Febreze still is and dye the rest of the paper darker blue. Now after letting it dry, you've successfully made a solar print of the object. If you hang 2 balloons from string and then take a heat gun and point it between the 2 balloons, rather than push the balloons apart, the air will pull the balloons towards each other. Next up, take an old film canister and fill it with some water. Then grab an Alka-Seltzer and break it in half. Add the Alka-Seltzer to the film canister, seal it, and then flip it over. After waiting for a bit, the bottom of the film canister will launch into the air. You've seen all 3 videos now, pause to vote in the comments which one you thought was fake. Blowing air between 2 hanging balloons does pull them towards each other in a similar way to how airfoils produce lift. This one's also real. Dissolving an Alka-Seltzer in water produces carbon dioxide gas, meaning pressure builds inside the canister until it explodes, and here's what it looks like in slow motion. This was not a real way to make a solar print. I swapped out the regular printer paper with specialty solar print paper while you weren't looking. Solar print paper is coated in a photosensitive chemical that becomes insoluble in water when it reacts with light. The area underneath the object does not react with light and therefore is still soluble. So when you soak the paper in water, the dye in the shadow of the object dissolves in the water, making it white. You can make the outlines a lot crisper if you use clear plastic to make the objects as flat as possible, and you just need to soak it in water after, not blue dyed water, before letting it dry. Here's a quick recap to help you follow before moving on to the next round. Next up, it's time for the bonus round, brought to you by the sponsor of this video, FlexiSpot. The regular rules still apply. The following will be 3 claims about or related to FlexiSpot products, and your job is to spot which video is fake. These premium sit-stand desks are quite sturdy and are powered by 2 incredibly strong motors, meaning even if I sit on top of it and I weigh about 200 pounds, the desk can still be raised. By standing, you burn about twice as many calories as sitting. This sofa may look like a single couch, but it's actually modular, so if instead of a 3-seater I wanted a 2-seater with an ottoman, I could move one of these pieces to the front. You've seen all 3 videos now, pause to vote in the comments which one you thought was fake. Yes, these E7 Plus desks can lift me and have a weight capacity of 540 pounds. These buttons can also be programmed to quickly switch between your desired heights. Their sofas also are modular, which does allow me to rearrange them. There's also extra storage space in the couch itself, which is pretty cool. That means standing doesn't burn twice as many calories as sitting. According to a study published in the Journal of Physical Activity and Health, you only burn an additional 8 calories per hour. However, taking frequent breaks from sitting does feel great and has many other assumed health benefits just because of how bad it is for you to sit for long periods of time. Now it's time for the final round, round 3. First up, take a bowl and place it in a pot of water on the stove. Then take a candle and scoop out the wax to melt it down. Then take a regular birthday candle and dip the candle in the wax to provide an additional coating. Then, once the candle is cooled, cut at the wick to expose the wick to the air and shape it into more of a point. The extra layer of wax turns this regular candle into a trick candle, so when you go to blow it out, the candle will relight itself. Fill a bowl with some water and partially submerge a can of electronics duster. Then, after releasing the gas for a while, the can will get cold enough that a layer of ice will form on the can where it was submerged. Take an empty plastic water bottle and drill small holes near the bottom. If you fill it up with water and have the cap screwed on, water won't shoot out of the holes. However, if you unscrew the cap, the water will shoot out until you screw the cap back on, and once again, the water flow stops. You've seen all 3 videos now, pause to vote in the comments which one you thought was fake. Releasing the gas in a can of electronics duster does cool it enough to form ice. As the pressure is decreased, some of the liquid refrigerant inside the can evaporates, which takes in heat from the surrounding. This is the same principle that your refrigerator uses to cool your food. It's true that the water won't shoot out of the holes when the cap is screwed on. When the cap is unscrewed, atmospheric pressure is acting both down on the water column and on the sides at the holes, meaning it's the weight of the water column that causes the water to flow out. When the cap seals the bottle, though, atmospheric air pressure is no longer acting down on the water column, and the pressure inside the bottle becomes slightly lower as the water tries to leave. This imbalance is enough to prevent the water from shooting out. That means adding an additional layer of wax to the candle does not turn it into a trick candle. A trick candle works because there are magnesium flakes in the candle that can ignite at the lower temperature of the embers, and then it burns hot enough to relight the wick. Thanks again to FlexiSpot for making this show possible. If you're interested in purchasing any of the previously shown products, I put links and coupon codes in the description. Thanks for watching to the end, and I'll see you next time.